But I want to start off with a little bit of Atletico Real Madrid review. I actually watched the full 90. This was the first full 90 I've watched of a La
Nice.
Liga game, probably like since a Messi v Ronaldo at El Clasico. So it was interesting to watch. We kind of were talking about it before we started recording, how it's just like a completely different sport. Like, to me, it just seemed like there was so much space and people had so much time on the ball, and there wasn't like there was tough tackling, but there wasn't as much tackling. It seemed like a lot more like, if you ever seen the movie Major League, there's a lot more of that Olay bullshit where it's just like, this guy's running at me, I'm gonna swing my leg as hard as I can. If I kick the ball, cool. If I kick him, even better. But if I miss, then who cares? So what was your sort of analysis of the game? I've seen a lot of people saying, Atletico Madrid were being some hoes and just sitting in. The ref was against us again. That's from the Real Madrid side. Atletico Madrid side is just kind of like, calma, we beat you, or it was 1-1. So what was sort of your analysis of the game as a Real Madrid fan?
Well, first off, let's not skip over Ethan's consistent campaign of Premier League bias that's being shown already. It's all good. It's all good. We'll allow it. My overall thoughts, I think, it's so funny. Whenever this derby gets played, people act like it's the first time they've seen it, where they're like, man, all they do is, like, both teams are too conservative almost to even make a mistake, even though we did see some mistakes, especially in the first half, I would say, that led to opportunities. But they're like, everyone's so afraid to make a mistake that almost no one's even really doing anything. And I think that had the feeling for at least a good certain parts of the first half. I actually think after the penalty, the game kind of started to open up a bit, especially for Atleti to kind of close out that first half. I thought Lino and Galan actually looked kind of dangerous down that left-hand side. You and I joked about how Lucas Vasquez might be in the running for worst right back in Europe right now with the form that he's in. But anytime you get taken out for a guy to then go into that position when it's his third best position at best, in Fede Valverde, that kind of says a lot about where you're at right now. And I think it's weird because Vasquez has been like, before this season, obviously no one sat here and was ripping up thought he was going to rip up trees or anything like that. But like, you thought he was a serviceable, like, good right back, like guy who will come in and won't let the team down. And since this season, he's definitely let the team down a couple of times. And I think that goes back to something we harp on all the time is it's really hard to be a good player because it's really hard to be consistent for like 9 months straight. 10 months if you're playing like, August to early June, damn near the way the season is now.
Especially when you're getting shifted around positions. He's a lot older than a lot of people would think. You would still
he's
think
like 33.
I said you would think that he's still like a 26-year-old, just veteran player that's still in his prime, but he's not. He's like an old player.
Right, and I don't want to sit here and harp on, Vasquez and the fact that we had kind of a makeshift defense with, Asensio and Tchouaméni at center backs because, for all of that, Atleti's only shot on target in the entire game was the penalty. So it's not like we were, while I do think that we did kind of expose more chances than what that stat will tell you, I don't think the back line did a bad job. And I thought really in the second half, the Tchouaméni-Asensio partnership is kind of starting to make a little bit more sense to me. And maybe this is just the classic talking myself into it because I kind of have no choice going into this City tie that we're going to talk about momentarily. But Asensio, as we talked about, he's the pacey, athletic, if you isolate him, that thing where the teams kind of press up and man mark and match up, and then it's kind of 1v1, the striker versus one of the center backs running into space. Like that Alvarez play that we talked about before we started recording.
In that right
I'm
channel.
I'm comfortable with him winning that matchup on the ground a really good amount of time. And then Tchouaméni, I think, can be a little bit more of the organizer of the group. So I don't hate it right now. I was really disappointed at how we looked attacking-wise in the first half. I just thought it was very pedestrian. I talked to you, like 0.18 XG in the first half is just outrageous. And I know, look, we talk, as you mentioned, kind of Atleti came to the game looking to park the bus, hit on the counter, get the hell out of town with 3 points if possible, but we'll be more than satisfied with one. And Madrid didn't look like they wanted to win the game until the second half when they fell behind. Like, and that's the thing I'm kind of sick of is like why it always takes like a moment, like something has to happen for this team to like kick it into the next gear. Like they have to give up a goal or they have to get screwed on a penalty decision or something like that to be like, all right, we'll actually start playing and up in the tempo. And that's just annoying, I feel like, as a Madrid fan.
Yeah, I texted you partway through the first half, and obviously I don't watch a lot of Madrid, if at all, maybe a couple times in the Champions League, but in build-up, it was like it would seem like you guys kind of had like 5 people around the ball in the back line, and then like everyone else was kind of just on the wings, and like even Mbappe was vacating the middle. The only center mid help they had was like 5-10 yards away from the back line, and you would look up and it would be like a 30-yard space just in the middle of Atleti that they were just like, yeah, we're not even going to go in there. And it was just so weird, especially with your explosive forwards, I would think, and pretty creative forwards too. It's not like they're not good assisters or passers. So I would just think if you had a Vinny or a Mbappe or whoever arriving in there, picking up the ball in a quick space, then having those other quick runners off of them, that they'd be able to create off of that, which I think they ended up trying a little bit more in the second half, getting guys in there quickly, little flicks around the corner, little interchanges. Saw a nice one with Rodrigo and Vasquez on the right, on that sort of right near the corner flag. And so it just seemed, like you said, no one's trying to make a mistake, which I think is sort of a pretty crappy analysis, because if you go in there and you're like, all right, we're going to high press, we're going to attack with everything, and then you concede 2 goals in like the first 20 minutes, then everyone's going to be like, oh, Carlo, you're an idiot. Why would you just throw everyone forward? So it's kind of a no-win situation. You're either making the fans upset, playing a bad brand of football, or you're smart. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's, Carlo in this spell that he's been in, I would say one of the key features or characteristics that stands out is he's very defensive and conservative in big matchups. We've played City, I think, the last 3 years in the Champions League, and he's damn near parked the bus from minute 1 of the first leg in all 3 of them. Except for, I would say, last year when we opened up a bit just because City's defense was so horrible.
I'm confused. I thought you couldn't win big trophies if you did that.
That's what Rodri said, but his undefeated streak was still going, so that's all that matters. And then even against Bayern in the semifinal last year, like I don't feel like we were necessarily taking the game to them. Hell, even Dortmund in the final, you kind of look up after 60 minutes and you're like, really, Madrid have taken like 2 shots on target maybe or something like that. So that's kind of been his formula. I can't necessarily criticize it because of the results it's given us, but if you look at us in big games this season, we just haven't been impressive. The struggles against Barcelona, well documented. A draw against Atleti earlier in the season was not the worst thing a draw against Atleti earlier in the season on that Correa last-minute equalizer isn't the worst thing in the world. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. And then this one, like, it's kind of that thing we talked about where when you look at the individual games, like, is a draw against Atleti horrible? No. The losses against Barca have definitely been horrible, but, like, I don't know. It just hasn't been. But then you look at the whole body of work, and it's like, shit, we haven't won a game against a big team this season. I mean, even if you count, Milan in the Champions League, Liverpool in the Champions League, like, these are games that we've struggled in throughout the season, and it's very contrasting to last year. Like, last year against Barca, we were very good. Atleti, we were very good. I think we lost to them. We lost. Atleti was actually the only team that beat us in the whole season last year, but we played them like 5 times, and they beat us twice. So, because that was the weird thing where we played them in like every competition. So, I know I'm rambling on a bit, but just slight cause for concern for Madrid, but at the same time, we're still in first right now, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was watching that game, it was kind of just like, I mean, look at the back line, and not even saying like as far as defending, but there are some of those people you would want in other positions where it's like
Yeah.
You can't like you would want Chouameni to be in the midfield. You would want other sort of combinations of players in the midfield, but you can't play them because you're having to play a Chouameni in the back line. You're having to put a Fede Valverde at right back. I actually heard on the commentary at ESPN, they were like, if you were managing Real Madrid, would you put Fede Valverde at right back or center back, or sorry, at center mid against Man City? And for me, I'm kind of on the side where you kind of been talking about the past couple weeks, where it's like we should just do everything we can to overrun the Man City midfield. And
Yeah.
I'm not really concerned about Savinho coming in on his right foot and kicking the ball out of bounds, or Omar Marmoush doing a cool flick and then hitting it into Rosette. I'm not really concerned about any of those things. Like Lucas Vazquez, as poorly as he played, I mean, how many goal scoring opportunities came off of the things that he
really
did.
just that one after the Galan chance, which, to be honest, I mean, to even call that a chance is maybe overselling it a little bit, because he was like right on the outside of the area,
which it kind of more speaks to Atleti's lack of conviction the final third. I mean, you kind of see that even in the Champions League this year, where it's like they're not scoring a ton of goals, which you never would expect an Atleti team to, but you kind of look at their team and it's like, I feel like their team is too good to just be like, hey, we can't score.
Yeah, and they actually have, I'm glad you said that, because they actually have a lot of attacking combinations of obviously I hate anyone that plays for Atleti, but if they were in different situations, I wouldn't mind them. Like Sorloth, I don't think is bad. I obviously love Griezmann, even though he's more, the stuff we both love about Griezmann is more stuff outside of just the pure goal scoring or even attacking stuff with him. So, but even like some of the wing options, like I think Simeone, talking about Giuliano, has been pretty good for them. Like he's been a good injection of pace and work rate on the right side for them. He's been able to beat a man. So, and they have a lot of midfield. Like they have a bunch of midfielders I really rate. Like Barrios, I think is really good. Llorente, I think has been really good. Not as much now. DePaul, like they have a bunch of really. I mean, they have so many guys. Thomas Lemar, who I still haven't given up on. Doesn't even sniff the match day squad for them. So,
well, at one point they had like Griezmann, Alvarez, and Angel Correa, I think, all on the pitch at the same time. This dude, Griezmann, was like falling into a CM role in a 4-4-2. It was kind of hilarious, but it was just like, you can't tell me, you look at that lineup and be like, yeah, well, there's no way we can score goals. And then they're putting on, like you said, guys like Sorloth, a guy like Thomas Lemar not even being able to get on the pitch. And it's like, I understand what you're saying, and like, we need to defend, we need to whatever, but like, you saying you don't have the attacking threat is kind of disingenuous.
It's really funny, because I think probably the thing that they miss the most, and this is a guy who they literally had, would be like a Garnacho type, as a guy who, because as much as I like Simeone, a lot of the stuff we like, or I like about him, is off the ball. Like a lot of these guys, the stuff we like about him is off the ball. Versus like a guy like Garnacho, who can actually either beat a guy in behind, or he can like just straight up face a guy up and go past him.
Right.
Obviously not to the consistency that you would want for a guy who would be starting for Atleti, but like just the fact that they had him, a couple years ago and sold him for what's now peanuts to Man United, which I think it's so funny that could be a theme across Europe, because like Juve have sold at least 3 guys who they use desperately. With like Housen, Moise Keane, and like one other guy who I can't remember. Well, or maybe just the decision
Ronaldo?
to let. No, they can't. They couldn't use his wages, but maybe just the decision to let Sandro and Danilo go when you have literally no defenders, even if they are like 100 years old. So don't want to change. Don't want to turn this into a Juve segment.